Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:30 here. Locke Management. Manuel, did you have any announcements?
First I have to do the roll call and then I'll do the clerk's announcement.
All right.
Okay. Member Jones?
Present.
Member Lum?
Here.
Member Dial? Member Kirk?
Here.
Member Prosser?
Here.
Member Walthall?
Here.
Member Heath?
Here.
We have a quorum with those members present. Oh, did I count Member Wu? My apologies.
Present.
And we have a quorum with those members present. And this is the clerk's announcement. The Locke Management Corporation, aka Association, LMCA, fosters public engagement during the meeting and encourages public participation, civility, and the use of courteous language. To make a public comment, please complete a speaker request form and hand it to the clerk. The chairperson will call your name when it's your turn to make a comment. To make a teleconference public comment, please raise your hand in the Zoom by pressing *9. The clerk will unmute you so you may make a comment during the public comment portion of the meeting. You may also send written comments to boardclerk@stackcounty.gov, and your comment will be routed to the board and filed in the record.
Thank you.
With that, we have item 1.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. Let's just move right on down the agenda list. Let's go to agenda item number 2, the approval of Locke Management Corporation, aka Association, September 9th, 2024 meeting minutes, which is in the agenda package.
Honey, did you get my note about including that the county was the one that said we can't talk about certain situations?
Right, between the county and also Aaron, both had mentioned that.
You mean
So it's
Aaron?
not only
Can we
Manuel.
include the county in there? I'd like it reported that the county be included in there, because they're the
Okay.
ones that stopped the
And
conversation.
what item?
I'm
Very
trying to
last
find
item?
it.
It's the very last item where you make a comment about including a closed door litigation.
Yes. Yeah,
I could add,
okay.
number 19, is that your remark there?
No, there was a different one, and I looked online. Give me a minute to find it. Sorry about this. Because they just said we couldn't discuss, I think it was the Tony Lee information. So if you want to put it under 19, you can just say that the county stated that we could not discuss any legal matters.
I'll include that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the amended minutes.
Oh, so moved.
Okay, second.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, we have to do a roll call.
Roll call. Okay, the motion is to approve as amended. Member Jones?
Yes.
Member Wu?
Yes.
Member Lum?
Yes.
Member Kirk?
Yes.
Member Prosser?
Yes.
Member Walthall?
Yes,
And Member Heath?
Yes.
And the motion carries with those members
so
present.
moved. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to our treasurer's report. Treasurer Prosser, would you like to give your report?
Yes, we have the end of October 24 P&L here. I didn't get November's until it was too late to get it into Manuel. Sometimes statements don't get in the mail to our bookkeeper in time, but I'll provide that for our next meeting. But in October, we had a total income of $2,160. We have total expenses of $6,591 and a net income of a negative $4,430. In the checking account, we had closed the month with $29,036.
Okay, I'm going to open up for public comment.
Yeah, I would just say that it would be kind of cool if we could see what last October was like, rather like when we've got this comparison on the profit and loss, it's October 2024, and then the next column to compare is January through October 2024. So it's kind of like, you can't quite understand how we're doing in relation to the same time last year. I don't know if Andrea could
So what
do
you're
anything with that, or if maybe if the first, I don't know, it's always been hard for me, even when I was on the board, to kind of make real sense out of some of these reports, but the profit and loss, it's like, I'm not sure what I can get out of knowing that October, just this October, we spent, well, our income, say, was $21.50 on assessments, and last year, from January through October, was $33,405. So
So you'd like,
I don't know what to do with the numbers.
you'd like a third column, one for 24,
I don't know.
23, and then
Maybe
year-to-date.
Andrea can. It's just, it's hard to judge how we're doing, is what I'm kind of saying. But then I admit I've always had a little problem understanding her reports. You know, so I don't know.
Well,
Just a
So,
thought.
if I can, like, just comment, I don't want to disrupt public
that's-
discussion on
that's
this.
it.
Go ahead.
But it does seem to me that Deborah's point is valid, which is this year's October 2024 column, and then the year from January to October 2024 isn't necessarily insightful. And it would be helpful to have either a proper profit and loss statement across months, even going back to the prior year, so October 23 to October 24, or even October 23 to today, just to see how all that, what all is happening.
You can go back to the reports from like October or September or November of 2023. So we have all those treasurer's reports, they're attached to all the agendas, and you can do a comparison that way. Why they do the budget or the statements this way is to see kind of what you've spent so far in the year.
Fair enough,
Yeah,
fair enough.
That's kind of a normal accounting, but you can pull the treasurer's reports from last year and look at them too.
Okay, well, I don't want to misunderstand the purpose of this presentation. I may be offering commentary on something that's not, or my commentary may not be relevant, but I do think that, I guess what we can see is if it's just for October that we're, net income of minus $4,430, and then year to date to October 24 minus 23,000 plus, that tells maybe enough of a story that, we need to have a look.
This is a format that was in place when I took over, and I just kept it going. So do you think that another column with October year ago
Yeah.
would be informative?
I think it would be helpful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
no problem, yeah.
I don't know, if
Whatever's gonna give a better picture.
the accountant, they do this, right? They print this out for you. And what you could do probably at your meeting, I don't know when's the next regular scheduled meeting would be in, because we're off January. You could even print out 2023's agendas and do a comparison that way too. I mean,
Well,
treasurer's report.
I don't know why it can't be added into here.
Yeah, you'd have to look at the system that they're using.
Should be able, it's not something that's unusual, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get on that, yeah. So we'll add a year ago, we'll have current operation month, year-to-date month, and then,
Prior year month.
yes,
Yeah, that's right.
okay.
Other comments for the treasury report?
Well, good evening. Basically, for the past 2 years, I have been paying a lot of attention to the accounts receivable of the LMC account. And maybe I should try to explain the concept of the accounts receivable. Well, the way the LMC works is every month, business as usual, they would issue the invoice to the members of the community to charge them for the assessment. And when they send out the bill, then that amount of money, that amount of figures goes into accounts receivable. And that's why over the years, we have accumulated so much accounts receivable and cash is going down, down, and down. So I have drafted a letter to our treasurer and I would like to read to you at this point. Dear Treasurer, the balance sheet of August 2022, when I was still the chair of the LMC, the cash account was $46,000 and the accounts receivable was $36,000. By October 2024, your cash account dropped to $29,000 and the accounts receivable ballooned to $54,000. You have managed to inflate your account receivable to become 64% of your total assets. I'm quite sure majority of these accounts receivable is over 90 days overdue. At the last meeting, I asked you to consider writing down the accounts receivable so that you don't mislead the public about the financial health of the organization. And I'm just afraid that in a few months' time, you will end up with a zero balance and 6 digits of accounts receivable. Next paragraph. The chance of LMC collecting money, converting the receivable into cash is less likely because of the court ruling LMC is not a legitimate entity to collect assessment. In March 2022, I was trying to negotiate with various property owners to come up with an agreeable installment plan. It was enjoying progress, but you attacked furiously my plan. You wanted to take people to court. Now you end up with a court ruling backlashing the LMC by one of your defendants. Finally, wisdom tells us, work with your neighbors in a harmonious way. Yours truly, Douglas Shaw. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? Any board comments regarding the treasurer's report?
Stuart, do you mind if I check online if anyone wishes to?
Oh, thank you. Yes.
If anyone would like, on the Zoom call, would like to make a comment, please press star 9 to address item number 3. I see no hands raised.
Thank you. Thank you for your report. Okay, let's move on to executive committee reports. Agenda item number 4, report and presentation of a project plan for the Locke Waterworks service area to provide water connection to Walnut Grove. The presenter is Heather Bashian, principal engineer, director of operations, Provost and Pritchard Consulting Group. And Heather, are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hi, good evening. Thank you
Welcome.
for adding me to your agenda and having me join your meeting this evening to present on the project that's underway. So I'll just start by saying, I haven't met in person. My name is Heather Bashian. I'm a principal engineer. I've been doing water system consolidation projects for about 20 years, based in out of an office in Clovis, about 2.5 hours south of you all. But I have been up to the Locke Waterworks area twice now, so I'm getting a little familiar with your area. So please bear with me if I misstate any streets or any location. I know you all know the area much better than I do. Also, please feel free to interrupt me, ask questions as I speak. Doesn't hurt the flow of my presentation, and it might be a better flow for the questions, so please feel free to do so. You all, I believe, have a map of the project there in your agenda packet. And I just want to call attention to the fact that there was a development in the project last week that we just received information on this week, so it's not showing, so I'll describe that change as part of my discussion tonight. But what the project serves or aims to do is to consolidate the water system for Locke with the Walnut Grove water system to your south. And to do so, there will be a pipeline, or there's proposed to be a pipeline that will be constructed from the north end of the community, kind of wrapping around through the trees, up onto that old railroad track that's now a trail, and then down and across Channel Canal, where it'll connect to the Walnut Grove system. To make that happen, there are several easements that will be necessary, both permanent and temporary. One is the permanent easement, that's the blue line on the map that traverses APN 146-0400-54, which is a parcel that I understand you all own. And then there will be also a temporary easement needed that will connect from kind of the midpoint of that blue line. This is what's not shown on your map. Almost directly west, but a little bit south, to near that building that is kind of on its own near Key Street and Locke Road, where that intersection is. That direction, that'll be a temporary easement just used for access from the construction equipment during construction, and that will be abandoned. The land won't be permanently occupied or used. So what I wanted to bring to you all tonight is really just an overview of the project, and that our regularly acquisition appraisal team will be getting in touch with you all, but I didn't want it to be a surprise. So hopefully you've heard of the project over the years. I know Clarence, too, is very engaged and involved in the area, and I believe at this meeting typically, I think he let me know that he wouldn't be here tonight. He has been involved in the project and is aware of it, so hopefully it's not a surprise to you all. But that was really the intent of my presentation, was to give you an overview of the project and to answer any questions and to make sure there weren't any immediate concerns or objections to us proceeding and having the right-of-way specialist contact you. Happy to entertain any questions.
Heather, have you gotten right-of-way clearances for the whole project?
We are working through all of that right now, so we're contacting all the property owners. My firm is not the design engineer. Coleman Engineering has been engaged on the project for about 10 years, is my understanding, working through the design, applying for funding from the state. And my understanding is that they did speak with all of the property owners earlier in the project, but because things take just so long sometimes, we understand that a lot of folks maybe either staffing has changed, people on the board have changed, or simply we've just forgotten, because there has been quite a bit of time that's transpired. So we're reaching out to all the property owners. We've spoken to the Wilson family, that's south of you all there. The property is owned by them south of you. And we are in contact with the state for the land that's owned by the Parks Department. And then we're in contact with the United States Bureau of Reclamation, who has access to that bridge. So we are in contact with the various property owners that the blue line traverses. There will be a couple of new property owners we have to reach out to for temporary easements, much like the one I just described. They're just coming kind of to understanding now as we're getting into the final stages of design and laying out actual access and sequencing of the project construction. Temporary access is generally kind of the last thing we know where it'll be once we have things laid out and finalized. But obviously, we don't want to proceed if we have massive concern or objection to the project. Obviously, the parcel that we're traversing with the pipeline on your end is critical to the alignment. So if you have concerns or don't want to allow the project to go forward, that's kind of the goal tonight, is to make sure there's not any objection at that level. And if there aren't, then we will proceed with the appraisal.
Great. One more question. And I don't know if this is your purview, but do we have provisions for maintaining our current system for fire suppression and garden, etc.?
My understanding is that the fire suppression will continue to be out of the river in that bifurcated system. It won't, the connection to Walnut Grove won't provide enough water supply to cover fire suppression or fire protection. So that fire suppression system that's already in place will continue to be in place and the water will come out of the river.
Thank you. Are there any public questions? Deborah?
Yes, I just want to know, is the temporary easement on Locke property, or is that outside Locke that you were referring to?
There is one currently planned on this same parcel that the blue line is going across that you all own. It'll just essentially, so I apologize that you don't have a figure of it in front of you. But if you look at the line that comes across your APN, that middle segment that kind of angles off, if you can imagine a line coming from the middle of that kind of southwesterly towards that intersection of Locke Road and Key Street, that'll be the direction that temporary easement goes to allow construction equipment access. And once that project's done, then that will be restored back to its original condition and the temporary easement will expire.
Does anyone understand where that is on the map, kind of?
I apologize.
Is it on common ground, or
so-
common ground lot? Or?
So, sorry, this is Eric Keith. I'm a member of the board. The map that we have is in black and white. So we're unable to distinguish the blue line that you're referring to, but what I'm seeing is kind of a darker outline of like part of the Key Street and some of the residences behind Main Street, and then looks like kind of property, kind of a big kind of angle, and then from the bottom of the slide, there looks to be a lighter or a gray line that comes, I don't know, about, kind of at an angle up to what is APN 146-0110-012, and then it goes over, and there's another angle, goes into kind of the, what I assume is an orchard. It goes along the outside of the other black line into where the I think current pump is. I don't know if I've described that properly, but in any event, assuming that's what you're referring to, and I think Deborah, who's the public participant's comment, is like, what access does the project need through town, basically? Like, what impact will there be to Key Street, Locke Road, all of that, given that the route is, I mean, quite honestly, kind of out in the hinterlands of the town. Yeah.
Sure, thank you, I appreciate that, and I didn't realize you had a black and white map. Yeah, so the gray line that you're seeing is what I refer to as the blue line. That is the pipe alignment that the design team is considering currently. My understanding is that access would be on the roads of the community up to the point that the roads don't go all the way out into the orchard area. And so then there would be a temporary easement necessary to get from that point out to that pipeline alignment. I'm anticipating that might revise again as we're getting closer to actually having final construction plans. So I can obviously we'll make sure that you guys have a copy that shows any easement we would be requesting, permanent or temporary. And because the streets, it appears anyway, the streets are actually owned privately by you all, or at least part of the streets are owned privately by you all. Is that correct?
Nothing's in here.
Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like we'll be looking for a temporary easement along Key Street and Locke Road as well, to get to the pipeline, because those aren't typically that would be public right of way, where the streets are.
Sure,
So
but just so you know, Key Street is very narrow. It has overhanging trees and will not be conducive to any large equipment that is bigger than a normal, let's say, regular vehicle like a car or a pickup truck. So if there's a large, trailer, semi-sized thing, it's not going to fit. And obviously, you guys will come out and have a look before any trucks roll through here. But just so you know, like it's fairly constrained, and if we need to accommodate other rights of way for special access or whatever, it'd be good to know that sooner rather than later.
Certainly. Yeah, with that in mind, just looking at the mapping, it looks like potentially the temporary easement and access just along Locke Road, kind of on the very north end of town, might be the better option. And then out through the orchard that direction, rather than try to traverse the smaller roads in town. And then there will be an access easement. It's not on the parcel owned by the corporation, but to the south, there will be another access easement that gets up to the pipeline that's on the trailway. And so that potentially might be a better way to get to the part of the alignment that's in the orchard, rather than trying to come through town. So we will certainly arrange another site visit to walk the area and really look critically at what will be the least impactful access to get to the pipeline alignment. If you all are fine for us to proceed with the alignment of the pipe in its current configuration.
Great. And Heather, this is Stuart again. Is this project fully funded?
This project does currently have 3 funding sources. It has a construction funding source that's in place. That funding agreement has been signed between Locke Waterworks and the state of California. That was signed earlier this year. And there are 2 technical assistance agreements in place. One to fund the completion of the design plans by the design engineer, Coleman Engineering. And then the second one funds Provo and Pritchard to basically manage the project through construction. So we're just trying to facilitate getting the design finished, getting the easements acquired, and then we will handle bidding of the project, oversight of construction management, all of those components during construction. We'll manage that whole process through the end of construction.
Great.
So those are the 3 funding sources that are in place.
Well, I want you to know too that anytime anything new comes up or we have an open door here, so just ask and you're always welcome to participate in our meetings. So.
I really appreciate that.
Do you have more you'd like to offer?
That was the sum of the presentation tonight. I think the only thing I'd be looking for from the board is just direction that we can proceed with having the right-of-way consultant and the appraiser contact you to schedule a time to come out and do a site visit, do the appraisal, and start preparing the initial documents that would be the offer for costs. I mean, there's a cost obviously that we would be covering to compensate you for use of the land and loss of your use of the land with the permanent easement, and then obviously loss of the temporary use of the land for a temporary easement. So there's monetary compensation there. So they'll prepare offer letters for all of that, detailing what that compensation looks like, and then assuming that's amenable to you, to the corporation, then we'll prepare the actual easement documents to have those signed and executed and recorded. So that's kind of the next step. So I just want to make sure that you don't see any immediate concerns for us proceeding, and if we can proceed, then I'd like to have those folks start that process with you, and they'll give you a call probably next week.
I do have some questions.
We do have one more public
Okay.
comment, so, yeah.
Yeah, Brock Alexander. Can't hear you or see you on the phone, but just curious, maybe it's too early to tell, but do you have an estimate of when the project would start? And then once it's started, do you have an idea of the timeline it will take to put in place? I don't know if it's too early or if you know that.
Definitely not too early. We do have a rough schedule put together. It's probably going to shift a couple months, just where we're at right now. But what we were planning for originally was to go to bid in July of this coming year, and then the project would take about 6 months to construct. So we would be done basically by this time next year. Like I said, it looks like we're probably going to end up having to shift that by a couple months, but because there are funding sources already in place, those have timelines associated with them that we either need to meet or have to modify, but we have to have good reason for modifying them. The state holds us pretty accountable to keeping those schedules. So that's our plan currently. We'll definitely keep you updated as that changes and shifts, but that's where we're at today.
Great. And Heather, one more question from
This
Director
Lisa
Kirk.
Kirk, yeah, this, one of the directors. What's the total cost of this part of the project?
I don't have the cost broken down by segments that go across different parcels. We just have an overall cost.
That's fine.
And I would be honest, I don't have that off the top of my head, but let me see if I can grab it real quick while we're still talking. I want to say it's about $2 million, but do not quote me on that. Let me double check. Any other questions while I try to find that?
I was suggesting maybe, you've met with Park and Rec, right? State Department of Recreation that owns the back here.
Yeah, we've communicated with them. My appraisal consultant is handling communication with them, but they have communicated with them and understand what their process is, which was a little different than we expected, but now we understand it.
Because I was thinking maybe your access should be through their property to get to the site, and that way it would take the trucks and everything out of Locke.
There is an access being planned by the design team that does come from the south and across that property. But they're anticipating, because of the narrowness of the easements that exist there, that we won't be able to lay out what we call string out pipe, where we lay the pipe alongside the trench and have space for a trench pile in a way that would be conducive to having it all from one access point. So that's what they actually have, I think, 3 or 4 access points currently planned, just to spread out the access across the project instead of trying to come at it from one direction. Obviously, if we can't get through the community, if the streets are too narrow, or the equipment, quite frankly, if they're gonna put too much burden on the pavement itself, we don't want to cause any damage to the roads. So if that's the case, we'll figure out a plan B for sure. This is just the initial plan that we were there exploring, I guess I would say, and if it doesn't seem like it'll work or work well, then they'll come at it from a different angle. The other possibility, and we need to talk to Clarence about it, but the property just to the north that the pipeline traverses before it comes back to the pump house,
Right.
there is some open access along that area, so there might be an ability to come at the pipeline alignment and through the orchard from the north as well. So those are a couple different pieces of feedback I've given to the design team to have them look into, see if they can get different options.
Can you bring it back to the board before construction?
Oh, certainly, yeah. If there's
Okay.
any, so, yeah, our next step will be to firm up exactly what the design team would like to do. We'll bring those detailed exhibits to you with the appraisal and the right-of-way consultant. That'll all come as part of that initial letter saying this is what we plan to do, this is what we'd like to appraise. So you'll have all that information before we ever get anywhere close to an offer, certainly before we get anywhere close to having anything executed. We want to keep, that's why I said I really appreciate the open invitation to come and talk with you. Having that open communication back and forth just makes this whole process go a lot better. We don't want you to be surprised by anything by any means down the road. I want you to have full information every step of the way as we're modifying what we're doing, if we modify it.
One more question. Does this include metering on the individual properties?
I don't believe that there are water meters at each individual property included in the project. But again, I'm not responsible for the design, so I may have that detail incorrect.
Could you follow up on that and email the president and let us know if there's actually going to be meters put on individual properties? And does the project include that? It's a question we
Yeah, I
have.
can certainly do that.
Okay, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Heather, would you be amenable for placement on next month's agenda, which is the second Monday in January?
On the 13th?
Is that the correct
I
date?
have a phone.
Yes.
So we're not prepared to do any sort of action item during this meeting. If we need a general agreement or an affirmation on the go-ahead for the project, it'll pretty much have to wait till January. But we'd be happy to have you, if there's something new to report, to have you attend our meeting in January also.
Sure, I'm happy to attend. And I guess I wasn't looking for for action from the board. I don't know that this is an actionable item. It's more just direction that you are amenable to us having the documents prepared for your consideration.
Wonderful.
I didn't want those documents to show up in your mailbox and surprise you, which is why I wanted to kind of talk with you all tonight. But the next step would really just be for us to prepare the documents so you can review them, and then that item would be actionable if you wanted to take action to proceed with the easements.
Well, very good. I'll touch base with you before our next meeting, but if there's nothing new or the documents aren't ready for our board to review, then we could think about another time.
Okay.
Well, I sure appreciate you giving your presentation. Is there any other questions by the board? Well, thank you very much, Heather.
Well, thank you all for having me, and I will go ahead and have our right-of-way consultant send you the initial letter so you have something in writing from them that starts the process, and then as we have actual documents for you to review, we'll get back together when that time comes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your willingness to hear me out. And hopefully I'll get to meet you in person at the next meeting.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
So we'll wait to get the information on the right-of-way. And we'll go through it all as a board. Okay. Our town manager, agenda item number 5. Were there any...
No hands were raised for that.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item number 5, our town manager report.
Hello, good evening.
Hello, Maddie.
Hi. I've spent some time talking with residents and folks around town, general area people, just kind of getting a consensus of the town, the history, not necessarily the history in which we know the history, but the history of kind of problems and wishes, things that go unnoticed is what people mention. And so I've come up and figured 3 categories that really I need to address from what I hear from everybody kind of talking about, and their issues that are raised fall into sort of 3 categories. So I've kind of determined that the 3 categories are safety, community, and beautification. And I just wanted to kind of touch on them, not spend a whole lot of time, because I am still trying to develop these thoughts, and I really want to work with residents and the board in getting these ideas more solidified. But number 1 would be really addressing safety and making sure that residents and business owners and visitors come and they feel safe. One of the things that I'm interested in exploring is maybe some sort of a neighborhood patrol and some outreach programs from other agencies around the area, that everything's on volunteer basis. And we talked about lights and things like that. That would be something that would contribute towards making people feel safe. And then something we talk about too is some sort of alerting system when there is an emergency here in town. Maybe even launching a safety committee. The next one is talking in terms of community. People really want to make this town feel more like a community rather than what it seems to be. I hear a lot of like disconnect and folks that are really on 2 opposite ends and can't come to some agreement about the town, the projection. And so some of the ways that those can be addressed is having more community events and creating maybe even recreation programs, and looking at some of the community areas that we have here in town that will bring the community together. And also bringing in volunteer opportunities, whether that be some events, it might be even just, we share in a potluck or something like that, that just builds community in the town. The last one that I wanted to talk with was the beautification concept. And that goes into some of the visual aspects of the town, and creating more of a tourism type of situation where the flags maybe along the river road are enhanced. People, when they come to, drive through Locke, they see this is a town of Locke rather than this, going through and not really realizing what is here. And then, we have a couple of spaces here that I've identified that folks would be interested in doing a little bit more picnicking, have a place to maybe play some sort of game. It could be even like a little bocce area, or it could be something simple like corn tossing or anything, horseshoes, but anything just to kind of create this like park environment that people take care of, or even maybe just a group gathering spot that does a barbecue. We do have our community gardens, which we've been talking about with various residents and listening to what their thoughts are. So I'm going to put some plans together, some thoughts, once I am able to consolidate everything that I've gathered and then present it to the board. I'd like to have a vote, so we can present it to the town and give them back our findings.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
You haven't met with the businesses yet, so we have a sense of community. We volunteer to clean up the streets because no one's being paid to do it. So I just want to make you aware of that. We do put on events, so within the business community, there's a great sense of community. We love our tourists, we take care of them. The biggest safety hazard is the sidewalks. So, when you sit here and watch people trip and fall, you become really aware of how significant that is. So, but as far as Main Street, we're different than residential. So we have a purpose to be friendly, to be inclusive, and we really meet those standards. So if you want to come meet with Jenny and I and Martha and Brock and, Clarence, set up a time, okay? So we can show you what we've done. So you have a better understanding of what goes on Main Street. Spend the day with us, spend a couple hours, see the tourists come in, see how we treat them, so you'll understand that. Beautification, good luck. There are sites in this town that will never change, and I don't know really what to do about it. I ask, I plead, do we really need a tanning bed in the back of a building? How long is it gonna be there? But I can't seem to get anyone to deal with it, so.
Yeah, I know enforcement and trying to have people all have the same thought, it's been a little challenging.
Yeah.
For sure.
But I have to deal with the people on a day-to-day basis. So, I said, I don't think the tanning bed's gonna work after 3 years of being in the rain, but I don't even know how you're gonna dispose of this, because it's probably an EPA issue, So, whatever you can help on that, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I have met with Marsha. I've met with pretty much everybody. I stopped by your store, but I didn't catch you, but same with Ginny.
Yeah.
So I have had a chance to talk to many people already and walk town with many people. I've been here at all different hours, different days.
Are you usually here on Fridays and Saturdays?
I'm now coming just all the time when people call, because it's not convenient for everybody when I'm here, and I want to make sure that I'm more accessible. So, when people ask me to come, if I can. I did try to put some owls out. Those went missing. I'm putting in some resources here to try to show my commitment to the community as well. And I do get a lot of emails and a lot of text messages, a lot of phone calls from people in town. Maybe they have been a little apprehensive of speaking to other people in the past, but I do get a lot of feedback. So I am very eager to get some plan in place. to get some help.
And
So
as far as like community, like there's no evacuation plan. Really, the county should be doing like a local hazard mitigation plan and should be communicating with the folks out here. I'm in Contra Costa County. We've worked on one for 2 years. Really, you should go to the county and say, where's the local hazard mitigation plan for this area?
I've been
Yeah.
pounding the county for many things, so.
Yeah, I don't know if they have one, this county. So,
And regarding beautification, we will be having the clampers, just to make this clear, those clampers will move anything. If anybody wants to have something removed from their property, they don't even have to lift a finger. The clampers will remove it.
That's right.
So, and if people still do not want,
I'm trying to massage people a little bit to get a little bit more friendly. Let's throw things back away, not keep it. It's not only beautification, it's really safety for everyone.
yes.
And I come at it with that aspect and with everything that Warren does, you know, I don't want to put other people at risk too for these hazards that folks are creating for others. So yeah, the sidewalks, that goes into my safety and beautification sections.
We're talking about optics too, which is critical.
Yes.
And I think even though these things are in our budgets, people's eyes kind of glaze over. But I think if we made a concerted effort to let the property owners, the people who put the money out to pay for all this, realize, because we still get accused of you're not doing anything, but if they, you know, we put out $16,500 to upgrade a fire protection system for Main Street. People don't even count that. Well, we pay for maintenance, for insurance, for our fire bill, for our bookkeeping. That doesn't even seem to register with people, and it makes me think, well, we're not being conscientious enough to let them know what their money, in fact, a lot of them just won't pay because they say they're getting nothing for their money, but it costs a lot to maintain the town.
That's correct.
So,
Yeah.
And Maddie, as a follow-up with lighting, the SMUD representative did come out here last month and we
and
did
we
a
will have
walkthrough.
lighting on our
And we have
agenda
it on
here.
the agenda that we would share with you.
Brock?
Yeah, I would just say for your approach too, instead of going with your ideas and telling the board to approve it and then you're gonna go fight with homeowners.
These ideas
Right.
actually come from homeowners.
Yeah, I'm saying, well, I'm a homeowner, I've never met you, and a business owner. So I would say, try to reverse that model. Talk to homeowners, talk to business owners, and say, hey, what would you guys like to see? What would you buy into? And I think you get a better result, and then you can bring it to the board and see if they can support it too.
Yeah, that's exactly my route. Thank you.
So Megan, I think you're doing a good job. Thank you very much, and you are moving in the right direction. I like the way your concept about community gathering. And actually, in August, I did organize a national night out, and I got a lot of cooperation from the merchant community. So, but then nobody. Okay, we actually went to the back and to get some of the renters to come out to our event. But then we didn't get anybody from the board. So maybe this is a, oh sorry, except Lisa. So maybe this is a perfect opportunity for you to play a bridge between the renters, the business owners, the residents, and the board members. I think you will be a great asset. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I think that is my role. Okay, I don't know. Anything else? No?
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Maddie.
Okay.
Stuart, do you mind if I just check online?
Yep.
If anyone would like to make a public comment for item number 5, please press star 9 now. See no hands raised?
Thank you, Manuel. Okay, agenda item number 6, This is discussion of formation of Locke Merchants Association. I know this was in the purview of Locke Management, but I wanted to bring it up one more time to, is this 6?
6 is right.
That's 7.
Huh, I have that wrong on here.
Discussion, native.
Okay,
Oh,
let me use this one from here on out.
My apologies, Cory, looks like I got
That's
the wrong
okay.
one on the vote sheet.
Are we on?
I think I would have
Right of
given
first
the wrong
refusal?
number on a couple of
Okay.
those others too.
Yeah, that would misnumber the.
Okay. Discussion of, I'll go by this one. Section 2, discussion matters. Number 6, discussion of right of first refusal. Amendments to Locke Management Corporation, AKA Association bylaws, covenants, conditions, and restrictions. And the reason that I put this on this agenda is because at our last meeting, we had a discussion, we had a report from Locke from the Locke Prada, and there was some confusion regarding right of first refusal and the Locke Prada group. And I wanted to give you an opportunity, Corliss, to address this because it's mostly because of me having to kind of cut you off last meeting. They didn't give you an opportunity to address the right of first refusal, so.
Okay, well, actually, the first item is the just notification of the list of the properties for sale. I'd kind of like to find out where we stand on that.
Well, agenda item number 9 will be the report from Locke Prior Residents and Descendants Committee. So we will be going over that, if that's what if you're talking about notification.
Yes,
Is it notification for,
for the properties that are for sale,
okay, because that's what the Locke Prada is.
right.
That doesn't have, this is an opportunity to address the right of first refusal.
Well, the right of first refusal is something that, as I see it anyway, comes after we've notified the people,
Yep.
okay? And so it doesn't really, I'm sorry, I'm not good at public speaking.
Oh, that's okay, just relax. Did you have questions regarding the right of first refusal?
No,
Okay, because what had come up before, and I don't want to be putting words in Corliss's mouth, was to add conformity, to unify the bylaws and the CC&Rs regarding right of first refusal. But if that isn't why
no.
you want to talk here, then were you willing to talk on agenda item number 9 regarding the prior residents
Yes.
and descendants list? Okay, then we'll make sure you have plenty of time for that.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
So, can I make a public comment?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I have trouble with directionality. Was that you, Douglas?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I think the fundamental issue of this CCNR and bylaw is they are not consistent with each other. So I don't think the board has done anything to seek how to make the two sets of rules, bylaws consistent with each other. And I think that is the issue.
That's why I brought it up.
Yeah, but okay,
What is the inconsistency?
it's been the bylaw, the spirit, and the wordings, and the outcome, the interpretation, right? So basically, I think what the board should do is to make an effort to make these two sets of bylaw and CCNR consistent with each other.
I think one of the things that's confusing is the CCNR says that the Locke Management Corporation buys the property. And I don't know how that squares with the bylaws, which is the residents, or the prior residents and descendants should be buying the property. So it's just doesn't make sense, the wording, and it needs to be looked at and analyzed and find out how we can make it more consistent with the bylaws.
Got it.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to open that to public comment since it's on the agenda. Do we have any public comments online, Manuel?
Anyone joining via Zoom if wish to make a public on item number 6, please press *9 now. See no hands raised?
Hey, do we have any comments from the board?
I don't know if this is what you were trying to get at, that in the CC&Rs, only the LMC actually has the right of first refusal, and it is waived if the LMC refuses or fails to act within a 25-day period. So, are you saying that's inconsistent?
Why would the LMC be the one that has the right of first refusal? When it,
They're the property owners of the town. Now, are you that, I don't want to be putting words in your mouth, but it seems like you're advocating for the people on the Locke Prior residence list should have the right of first refusal.
right.
Okay. So you're correct, that's not in our bylaws or the CC&Rs.
This is a letter from June Pals Mays, who is the Sacramento County Office of County Council. And she says the prior residents, descendants, and ascendants are entitled to notice from the LMC that a Locke property is for sale, but they do not have a first right to purchase unless the LMC assigns its right of first refusal to them. So we would have to sign that to a property owner.
Assign.
Right.
Right, and that's where I think it's not being truth to the bylaws.
You know, it'd be helpful, because I can agendize this again. If you guys have suggestions, in other words, it's not clearly stated what needs to be done, but you're saying straighten it out. If you wanted
Right.
to come in with some text to say, that might be leaning more towards bylaws conforming to CC&Rs, or CC&Rs conforming to the bylaws, or a whole nother section that would be adopted by both. See what I mean? If I'm correct in what you're saying, you want the right of first refusal to go from the Locke Management Association Corporation, which are the property owners of this town, to be given the right of first refusal to the people on the list that you submitted.
Right.
Okay, then you would have to decide, that's a whole nother kettle of fish. There's nothing about that in our bylaws or the CC&R. So you're talking about a major change in our documents. So, but it would be helpful if you could submit some text saying precisely what you think would be fair.
Okay,
Good.
we'll work on it.
Just to clarify, so let's say there's an outside entity that wants a piece of property and there's somebody on the ascendant-descendant list. Then you think that we should do first right of refusal to that list?
Right.
We can discuss that in depth more. Are there any questions or comments from the board regarding this? Okay. Now, agenda item numbers. Number 7, the formation of the Locke Merchants Association. And as I was saying, pardon me, I'm only bringing this up to verify that the Locke Management Association can help with this issue and to encourage a discussion. We had touched on a few things let me personally say that most merchants associations would have regular meetings. They would have a board of directors. They might even be a functioning 501c3 nonprofit. Whatever it takes to unify the merchants here in town and make them an organization, or not. So
can I
that's
speak?
why I put it,
Okay.
if I don't need to put it on the agenda anymore, that would be fine.
So, I belong to the Ileton Chamber.
I'm gonna have to first open this up to
Okay.
public comment.
Okay.
So,
We can have a board discussion first?
well, what do you think, Manuel?
So you can have a board discussion prior to public comment.
Okay, good. All right,
Okay.
Lisa.
So, I belong to associations that are focused on business and do advertising. And I don't think there's enough of us, and that's why I belong to the other ones. Now, as a business community, we confer all the time with each other, and we're trying to work on advertising now. To become a 501c with 4 people or 5 it's just not practical. What I'm going to ask out of you is money for advertising, like we did previously. We used to give us $3,000. I ran ads in the Sacramento News and Review. So it's something that you might want to consider. You guys paid for it, we took it out. Now, even on advertising, I've been trying to find a 501c to help the merchants here advertise, like on KVIE, so, it's something we can talk about, because I am trying to find, like, if I can get money or grants. Like, I've been looking up grants for advertising. That'd be a 501c. So, I don't know I could go to the Delta Chamber and said, can we use your status? So I'm just trying to figure out some ways to do advertising. So, you can keep it on
I
the
just
agenda.
found that the sum of the parts has more strength than the individuals.
Right.
But I realize with only 5 or maybe 6 businesses, a 501c3 might not be, even what could be called a chamber of commerce, wouldn't necessarily. But if you had an identity, I've just found that sometimes that's helpful.
Okay.
So, now is there any public comment regarding, we got a couple of Locke business owners here. Brock?
I'll just say, it's hard to comment because I can't decide, is the board got a plan? Do they not want it? Do you guys want it? It sounded like some of you didn't care, some of you did. It's hard to comment, there's not enough information here. It's like,
Well,
what's the pros,
it's
what's the
It's
cons?
not under the purview of the board.
Okay, so it's
This is
not
an
a board.
encouragement, and to see if there's, if we could help, Lisa's talking about advertising, certainly the Locke Foundation, even though that's not part of this board, we have means of media, social media, publications, etc., to help with businesses and particularly their events. But I don't want it to have to take up a lot of time with us who really have no
We need to meet.
purview. Yeah.
We need to meet.
Yep. So, any board members want to chime in?
Excuse me, this is Eric Heath. I'm not opposed to a merchants association. I agree that it's a small number. I don't think we are aligned. I know Lisa and Ginny are aligned, but I don't know if the rest of us are aligned. For example, I've never been talked to about this at all, which is fine. I'm not offended. I'm just saying I haven't been part of the conversation. I don't know. I mean, there are other ways to network, to drive interest in business. There are chambers of commerce that are, as you mentioned, Lisa, Ileton. There's also other organizations that are out there. I don't know what level of advertising. You mentioned $3,000 before, Lisa. I don't know, what all that would entail, or what all that would get you, or the Locke merchants community. I'm certainly not opposed to it, and I'd be happy to try and figure it out. But we at Al's do like participate in various chambers of commerce that meet elsewhere, and sometimes we host them at Al's, and so it's kind of a rotating thing.
Yeah, it's the ones that
everybody kind of knows each other. Anyway, I do think it's beyond the scope of this board of directors, and I would say we should probably either sync up outside of this forum to figure out if or whether and if what to do.
I just want to add that Sac County has sent down a team called Embark. They're trying to spend rescue money. So they are meeting with small businesses. We met at Al's. We've met at Al's twice. Chris has been there. Diane's been there. Jenny has been there. Martha's been there. But I've asked them for money for advertising. They can't do it. But they said, we can help you with marketing. So we're going to meet with them and, do maybe individual business marketing or a website for the town. But we've been meeting, and Chris has been participating.
Yeah, he would be the one to do that.
So, this has kind of been the start, but there's how they're going to use the money is really abstract to me. They just have to spend it by December 31st. So, but it's kind of pulled us together to start that discussion about advertising and marketing. And the first thing the marketing guy said to me when he came to town, he goes, "You need more parking." That was the first thing out of his mouth. So we've been doing it.
And I know Clarence is on board. He mentioned it at the last meeting that he's very much into.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So, thank you. Section 3, reports, announcements, and updates. Report from Locke Management Corporation, aka Association Nomination Committee. And part of that, I'll give you an overview. We had sent out, I think it was November 1st, nomination forms with self-addressed envelopes and the positions that were open for residential property owner and commercial property owners. We received one back by mail and one electronically. The one that was returned by mail, there was 2 nominees, and both have declined to serve on the board. The electronic one was Eric, and he has agreed to serve on our board for another term, which I'm very grateful for. So we don't have any addition to commercial and residential property owner seats on the board. So that's what's going on. Do we have any public comment?
Yeah, I emailed probably 3 times. I never got a nomination in the mail. So I don't know.
Who did you email?
Whoever sends out the agenda every week, or this week's agenda, who sent that out?
That's
So I think you sent me one email and I responded that you do have to email the LMCA, the LMCA directly, but we don't send out noms. We just organize the meetings and post agendas.
Okay. Because I sent out at least 3 and never heard anything. I'm not getting. So you might have other issues sending them out. I don't know if everybody's getting their ballots.
Well, I don't know why you wouldn't have gotten them, but do you have the Locke LMA email?
I got just the one that sends out for the meetings.
Huh. You want to write down we have 2 that you can get a hold of us. One is through our town manager and one is through the Locke Gmail account.
Is it on that one that you sent out, the contact information?
Yeah.
Because I'll email again, because I'm not getting a ballot.
Could you hang on for just a moment afterward and we could we can double check your mailing address?
Yeah.
Because you have two mailing addresses, kind of technically.
No, I got one, but even my bill has been sent to the wrong email or the wrong address for a long time. It's been recently
Yeah, because
fixed.
we had gotten a return from a certified letter that we had sent you from our bookkeeper.
Never got it.
So, and I don't know if they're using your address on Main Street or your address on River Road.
Well, the problem is there's 13955, but there's more than one of those.
I know,
Yeah, so,
I know. That actually goes all the way to the back of town.
yeah, so it's caused some confusion.
Could I get your preferred mailing address? The one-
Yeah, lately it's whoever fixed it on the bill got it right. But it's been wrong. I can bring in old ones. It wasn't even a 55 one.
Okay, well, if I could get that, I'll be sure that it gets changed in all of the lists for the addresses.
So is it too late to give him a nomination form? We're out of the nomination period, correct?
Well, that's a very good question.
Because he didn't get a nomination form, I think is what he said.
Well, you know, we can never bat 1,000, so we did get return ballots from
Okay.
Joy and even Eric. And we sent them out again because Joy moved and Eric was getting it. We didn't have the post office box from Al's. We had the physical address for Al's. So I don't know if we have to, because of this situation, stage the whole nomination process again. But I can find that out. Okay, do we have any public comments regarding the nomination committee report?
Yes. First of all, I noticed on your nomination form that you sent out, it was postmarked November 3rd. And it stated that you're changing the commercial term to a 4-year term. When was that bylaw changed?
Do you remember the 4-year term on what you
Me?
saw?
I don't remember that. I can look up the.
Do you remember that?
And my second point is, if you're going to acclaim your seats again and cancel an election, you need to look at Civil Code Section 5103, because there's lots of requirements, and this town is way too small. The membership, the general membership is way too small for any acclamations of board seats to happen. And if you do acclaim a board seat, you better have the third-party inspector of elections send it out within the time frame that's required under 5103, Civil Code 5103. Thank you.
It does say 4 years.
That's the way it's been for the last some elections. So that changed that.
Yeah. One more thing to deal with. So, yeah. Okay, is there any other public comment regarding the nomination committee report? Now, regarding election, when seats are not filled, when someone, for instance, there's still 2 open seats for commercial property owner representative, and 2 open seats for residential property owner representative, it would seem kind of moot to have an election for people who are not There's, who do you elect? So, there you go. Plus, it's been clarified by June Powell's Mays regarding having to stage that election. So, since there's no more public or board comment, is there any comments online?
I do not have any other members of the public joining online.
Okay. Let's move on to agenda item number 9. Report from Locke Prior Residents and Descendants Committee. That would be Eric and Greg.
I'll try to.
Go ahead. I don't really have much of an update other than as mentioned last time, we have the list. And there was some correspondence this past, I guess, quarter.
Yeah.
About why certain notices were not sent out. And correct me if I'm wrong here, I don't have any information about any properties being on sale since the committee came into existence that hadn't already been either closed or that the notification period hadn't expired. So that's about all I have to say. I don't know what else is out there.
You know, and you're right, Eric. So since we had our last meeting, had a couple of emails, one from Carol and Corliss, in regards to needing clarification on why notices weren't sent out on properties that were for sale. So I think what's important today is that with public comment, let's try to clear up those possible conflicts and provide clarity, because Eric and I, you know, we're ready to send out notices once we're notified that our property is up for sale. So again, during public comment, Corliss, if you could just share with us the properties you had in question.
Well, I don't know exactly the addresses, but one of them is Joy Quo's property, and there's another residential property in Locke that is for sale, I believe. And then there was a Locke Garden, which we weren't notified of, and it was sold without our notification. So I'm just wondering why we weren't notified.
Excuse me, whose notification?
Pardon?
Who wasn't notified?
I wasn't.
I thought I thought you put the responsibility on the Locke Management.
Yes, I know. So I'm waiting to be notified. I'm one of the descendants. Right. And I was on the list. I know Joe notified me of one property, but then I haven't been notified of any other additional new properties that's come up for sale.
Are you aware that 3 properties were notified at one time?
No, I wasn't aware. I didn't get notified. So I don't know what with the system or...
So, I don't mean to interrupt your public time, but it seems to me there's a little bit of a gap here. So, I think the committee kind of came into effect at the June or July meeting, is that right?
July meeting.
July? Okay, so since July, have there been any properties that have come up for sale?
Not that I've heard.
Okay, I haven't heard of any either. That's my point. It's like, since we've been responsible for sending the notices, no properties have come out for sale. That's not to say that, now I know the Locke Garden was for sale a long time ago, and I remember when we were talking about this committee, it had already essentially been agreed to be sold, and that the window had closed to notify.
How about Joy's property and then the other one?
We actually notified that property twice.
Pardon?
We notified that property twice.
I didn't get notified.
Have you ever been notified?
Yes.
And what was that building?
I don't know. Joe notified me. It was before.
Joy's property, Gianetti, and the Locke Garden all went out in the same notice. And it's probably been a year or more, or close to around a year. I don't know exactly when.
So you're telling me that because those properties are older, even though they're not sold, they will not be sent to the list that was provided?
Well, they've already been notified. The notice has already gone out.
But it hasn't gone out to the Prada list that was submitted.
The full list, that occurred after. You're saying we should send them out again with a new list?
Well, that's what I thought was going to happen.
How far back should we go here?
Well, if the properties are still for sale, shouldn't you be sending out to the list?
Well, you have to bear in mind, we already did once, but,
But Stuart, I think her point is with that list that we received in July, should we be notifying people on that list that were not notified going back
I get it.
months ago?
Yeah, because we included the 100 that was on your list, and then we added the 200 that's on our list. So you notified the first 100 that was on the list, and then the new list, we weren't notified. So my
Correct.
question is, you're not going to notify them?
You should probably address the committee.
I mean, we certainly can either send out the, certainly send out emails to the list.
Sure.
That's easy enough. If there are mailing addresses only, then, I mean, that's
I
just
can take care of that.
Okay,
Okay.
sure.
Okay, so we will.
Which properties, I guess, is the question?
Gianetti's?
Luo,
Yeah.
Gianetti and Joyce.
Okay.
which,
We have to make sure they're still listed. I don't know about Joyce. She is listed, then unlisted, and then listed. So,
Okay, I don't know if hers is still listed or not.
Because I recommend, Stuart, if they're not listed, we're not going to send the list out.
you mean like Zillow and whatnot? Or,
we can look on MLS. That's kind of the source of truth.
Why don't you just contact the property owner and say your property's still
Yeah.
listed? I mean, there you go. You don't, I wouldn't be running around
Who do
MLS.
I know who Joy is. I have her email and phone number, but I don't know Gianetti.
Gianetti is a little difficult.
I know, but we have all the contact information because they pay assessments, so we have emails and whatnot and addresses.
Yeah, but if do they pay assessments? If, like Stuart just said, if they're difficult to reach, we reach out to them. Is your house still for sale?
She's been at your bar like 3 times in the last 4 months.
Okay.
So, and she owned it. But what I would suggest, where we've gotten into this mess, is that you do not list it on the agendas anymore. Go, when a property comes up for sale, put it on the agenda, like we've always had.
But hold on,
hold on a minute. And that way we know that property's there, the list went out, okay? These are the terms. That's what we've done for almost 20 years, except then it started to fall off. Just list the property, you know, you can waive it, you don't have to act on it. There's nothing complicated about it, you just list it. Then there's not all this confusion on which property sold, which property hasn't sold. You know, now you've got the list. Just put it on the agenda, any new properties, because you get we get the notifications.
No, we don't.
No, but you should per
We did
real
not
estate.
get one from Gianetti.
Okay. Well, there's a problem there.
Oh, I know. And I talked personally to one of his
And she knows.
realtors.
She was on this board.
Oh, I know. Well, that's her father.
No, she was on the board. Tina Gianetti was on this board.
Tina, but it's Lowe that owns the building.
Right, but she's been out here, so she knows.
Yeah, well, I talked to his first realtor, and I think Joe talked to the second realtor. They still never sent us notification. Technically, we have not been properly notified, but because there was a big ass banner hanging off of Gianetti's place, everybody kept hammering saying, well, you should know it's for sale.
Well,
but technically, we didn't have to act on it.
Something, you know, if we're going to be compliant.
I did. I followed up and I got a hold of the realtor and she said, yeah. And I said, well, just have Lowe or you send us a notification, which they never did.
I know, but that's why we sued Martha, because of this notification thing. I know, it's like, if we're going to sue somebody over a non-compliance of the CC&R bylaws, then we need to be consistent about it. I know we're not going to sue the Gianettis, but, you know, we if we just put them on the agenda, we've been notified. And I don't know what we're going to do if you're not receiving notifications.
Yeah, well, that's common. We had to chase down Locke Garden.
I bet.
And I teach her. Anyway, Eric, did you have something you wanted to add? You got interrupted there.
I mean, no, I can just, like, we'll figure out what the addresses are and if they're still available and send them out.
Right.
And can we put it on maybe the next agenda, you put the addresses so we're clear and there's a public record of it? You know, that way we
That's a
can-
fair enough point,
Yeah.
Lisa. I think, listing the properties that have come up for sale and been declined or otherwise
Right.
deferred, or, notices sent, yes, no, that's.
Then we're not
that's
going
fine.
back and forth and all of this, then
Okay.
they've been sent, okay? You know?
Thank you.
And we will take action.
Thank you so much.
You got it.
And if you need contact, get a hold of us. We go by the bookkeeper.
Okay.
So we have been given records that are, through attrition have changed.
Okay.
And we don't find out about them, like with the nomination forms for a couple of people here, until we get the letters returned.
Okay.
So, okay, agenda item number 10.
Public comments? Thank you. Does anybody here have a set of your bylaws here? You should all have a set of the bylaws and CCNRs. I want you to look at CCNRs 2.8 and 2.9, the notification. And the two notifications that are required by the seller. And then the board to the two lists.
Yeah.
That refers to your bylaws, Article 5, Section 10 and 11. 11 is the interested parties list. If you're going to send out notifications to people that there are properties here for sale, you need to send it out not only to the PERTA list, but also to the anybody list. The any race, any color, any religion, anybody list.
I think what we have is an everybody list currently, like the expanded
No,
list.
it's Section 11, Section 10 and 11, or else it's Section 9 and 10. It's one of those two, under Article 5 of your bylaws.
Which list is this list if we don't have it?
The first one, the first section, it's either Section 9 or 10, the
Notwithstanding
prior
the section,
residence
notwithstanding the
descendants.
section of the documentation, the list itself. Who has this list that you're referring to?
The board is supposed to notify,
Yeah,
it
we have
says.
an extensive list of everybody, including everybody, quote unquote, interested parties.
Okay, well, there's two lists according to your bylaws, which is where the discrimination lies within it's either the bylaws, Part D subsection of the PERTA list. I think it's in the PERTA list. It's probably in the bylaws. Article 5, Section 10, I believe it is. Subsection D says that the board shall notify the people on that specific list where the initial paragraph mentions the word Chinese 5 times, but no one else. No other races, no other ancestries. And it says, subsection D, the board shall use its best efforts to notify this list. And factor in the right of first refusal for those people on that list. Go to the next section. I think it's Section 11.
Yeah.
The anybody list, the interested parties list.
Let me read this.
Thank you.
List of any individuals that would like notice of available property.
Is that 3 minutes?
Yeah.
For public comments.
Yep.
The association, in fulfilling its purpose to preserve the town of Locke's rich cultural heritage, shall also maintain a list of any person listed interested in being notified when property in town becomes available and provide them with this notice. Any person who would like to be on this list and receives notice of properties potentially available for purchase may submit a written request to the association, including their name and address to that effect. Individuals on the prior resident, descendant, and ascendant list who are interested in purchasing property in Locke shall be incorporated into this list. Which does that mean that the interest party list and the prior resident
Supposed to
list?
merge together. However, go back to the prior section, the subsection D does not apply to the anybody list. Subsection D, where they have to factor in
Oh, that's-
only the ancestry and descendants in Chinese list as a factor in the right of first refusal. Those are the only people who get that consideration. That is where the discrimination lies in that bylaw.
Okay. Agenda item number 10, report on the October 28th Locke Community Meeting. Honey has supplied
I actually gave you a handout. A number of you went to the meeting that was at Gene Harvey Community Center on October 28th, and I passed out to our directors this handout. This was actually distributed at the town hall, but a basic overview is that the County of Sacramento, through Pat Hume, he gave an overview of the different governance options or organization structures that perhaps the town of Locke may look at. But based on the different options that were described at the meeting, it seemed like the options were, it would take some time to create those options. Some of it's very costly, you know, as much as $300,000 to change an ownership organization structure for the town of Locke. So in the handout, there is a description of two options. Option one is to update the LMA bylaws to remove Sacramento County as an active involvement in the association and appointed seat on the LMA Board of Directors. So in the handout, it describes about costs, the timeline that it takes to change the mechanism to govern the town of Locke. Option two, third page there, is to dissolve the LMA association. So what that entails, again, the description about costs, timeline taking 2 to 3 years, in the process is a multi-step process. And in the bottom of the page, it talks about considerations. So in essence, time and money would be the factor, and whether or not the governing structure, what happens if if LMA does not exist? Who's going to take care of maintenance? Who's going to take care of the common areas and the streets, the lighting, etc.? So those are different factors that LMA needs to think about as overall the town of Locke. But it was actually a shorter meeting,
Let me add a little bit to this too, because I attended. It became obvious what Supervisor Hume wanted, and there were two things. There were actually 6 different proposals, and the county took it upon themselves to get rid of 4 of them and then hand us the 2 that Honey gave. It's pretty obvious that Hume is seriously considering splitting Main Street property owners from residential property owners. This could even entail having 2 boards.
Well, we'd have to go, if he's gonna take away the seat that I represent, it's gonna go back to Davis Sterling. And then you're gotta come up with all the new CCNR and bylaws.
This would mean that the commercial property owners would be the ones that would be on that board.
Or it could just go back to the county, Main Street. You know, Main Street's already owned by the county. The lighting there should be paid by the county. You know, there's not a lot of benefits because we don't have a lot of maintenance issues at this point.
Hold on,
You know.
before we go down any more, Lisa, what you're talking about, what were the other options he talked about?
They were relying, they being the county, were, and I think they were overstepping a little bit on this, relying on the Locke Foundation to utilize the Locke Foundation's 501c3 status to be the ones who apply for grants and to have the administrative duties to administer these grants, to which I told Pat how I felt about that. One thing is the Locke Foundation is stretched thin. We have a lot of things that are going on, and to assume that we would be able to take, and he said that, okay, they would help with administering these things. But bear in mind, the county would still be connected to, would still be under the purview of Brown Act and Davis Sterling. But I could tell there was a lot of smoking room discussions that had gone on before they came up with this thing. So.
Well, I think that community service district, he came up with that, and the cost of that. Getting out of the legislative seat, just having it go back to a straight HOA. But he did put large cost associated with whatever we do. If it goes back to an HOA, everything's gonna have to be changed, the bylaws, the CCNRs,
Yep.
So, if
And
it's
what
dissolved.
what I said, I think it's pretty simple. If people paid their assessments, kept their properties clean, and abided by the bylaws and the CCNRs, governance of Locke would be rather easy. But there are so many people bound and determined not to pay their assessments, to try to use all these little legal loopholes to screw with the governance of this town, and to have that welfare mentality where the people that do pay their assessments are taken care of what they refuse to pay for. So this is what this whole hubbub would not even exist if there wasn't all this stuff going on with trying to maintain this town. We write 6 checks a month.
Well, I know, but
come
if we
on.
got rid of the LMA, there wouldn't be the directors. If Sac County just took it back, like Walnut Grove, then there's no director's insurance. Let Sac County take back the common areas, the foundation takes back some, and, let them do what happens in Walnut
What,
Grove.
the bookkeeping?
No,
They pay for the liability
you wouldn't
insurance?
do that. If you just dissolved it and went back to Sac County, we'd be like any other community here. I live in Bethel Island. I'm governed by Contra Costa County. I'm unincorporated.
Does Contra Costa County take care of all those bills?
Because it's under that umbrella. If we dissolve it, we just go back to an unincorporated entity. Now, where the problem's going to come is what to do with all the common areas. But Sac County, and what to do, will Sac County take on the back roads? Will they take on Key Street? Can we sell off,
I thought you said it all goes back to the county.
Huh?
I thought you said it all goes back to the county.
Well, everything's the common areas, that's where it gets interesting. That's where you're gonna have to figure out, will Sac County take on the common areas?
Why wouldn't they?
Well, that's the question. I think at this point,
I mean, it
I
seems
don't
to
know
me
what
like the options here are very confusing. I question whether either of these proposals has any merit to be considered whatsoever.
I think Pat Hume wants that.
I don't know what Pat Hume wants. He's shown up here one time.
I think
Whatever.
he'd like to get the county out. I think he'd like to get the county out.
Of course he would. Everybody'd like to get out of something.
Yeah, so that's where
But what burden is this place on him?
the phone calls, the complaints.
That's it. Cry me a river.
He's just
Do your
sick
job.
of the complaints.
Whatever.
But see, I would like the county to fix the potholes, to take on the lighting.
We fixed the potholes. We did last year.
I know,
We'll
but-
fix them again this year.
They need to be, and I wrote Rebecca Sloan an email. I'm like, when is that? I probably won't be here next year. I'm like, when is that pavement going to be completed? Okay. She was in a transportation meeting today. But yeah, those are things they should be.
Yeah, well, you can't rely on the county to fix it, obviously.
Well, no,
We
you
addressed
can't.
it
I deal
time
with the
after
county
time.
all the time on other
We'll
boards.
fix it ourselves.
We're in a queue. We're in a queue. We're in a queue. Okay, I'm gonna keep going on that queue. It's how people are governed, Stuart.
Well, based on the meeting, it seems complicated and it's not an easy fix.
What do the
What's to
homeowners
be
want?
fixed?
Well, if he pull, this
What's
is
to be
my, this
fixed
is,
other than somebody not wanting to give complaints?
this is my problem. If
Not
he
my
pulls
problem.
the seat, the legislative body, you guys don't have to comply with the Brown Act. I won't be at your meetings. Ginny won't be at your meetings. She won't be at your meetings, because they'll all be private, okay? You'll be a straight HOA. We'll have no say.
Is that in the county's discretion to just pull?
Yeah, they want to do it, and then they'll come out of the Brown Act. There's no transparency. You guys can meet and do whatever you want. You know, I won't have a say. We probably won't get any public money, you know, because we're not a public entity anymore. It's a straight HOA. I don't know any straight HOAs. And as far as this historical district.
Well, we've never got any public money except the initial money.
Right, and that 100,000, those walkways, that was public
That's
money.
true.
Yes, that's what I came on the board to do, is try to get us some public funding, okay? I'm sorry people think otherwise of me, but that was my goal, okay?
HOAs are governed by the Brown Act.
No, well, I know,
They are.
but I won't, I'm not a property owner. I'll have no say.
But
I have no say. Look at, I have no say.
I know,
You
but
see?
we are still,
You won't be on the board.
we who still are on the board are still governed by the Brown Act.
Yeah, but you, Daryl, we go back to straight HOA, only property owners need
Yeah,
to be on
I
this board.
understand that.
So you're not gonna be on it, he's not gonna be on
HOAs
it.
are still governed by the Brown Act.
Well, good luck on that. I mean, we gotta
I
call the
belong to an
district.
HOA that's governed by the Brown Act. I belong to another HOA that's governed by the Brown Act.
Yeah, but all the HOAs I know, I will not have any say.
Okay, well, let's get back on point here. There was a meeting, a town hall meeting. It was pretty obvious to me that they had their agenda before they showed up for that meeting. Pat Hume reiterated it again at the very end, saying, okay, we're all in agreement here, blah, blah, blah. Well, we weren't all in agreement. There was a lot of smoke. They really front-loaded that meeting with these really expensive options that they decided on their own that we're not going to offer them to you. So we are waiting on Sacramento County for a number of things. What is happening regarding the status that they handed us? Are we LMC? Are we LMA? Do we need to have a lawyer if we're going to have a closed session? What is the governance going to be of Locke? Are we splitting Main Street from, these are all there, you know.
They want us
They're
to
not getting
figure it
answers.
out.
You know, I'm even talking to Pat personally. Yeah, I know they want to get out.
They want us to figure it
Natoli
out.
handed him a great big plate of you know what. He didn't want us to get out because the LMA, I wasn't on the board, tried to get out of it. So what we're doing right now is trying to maintain this town. Taking care of the bills. We're getting help from Maddie on all the little P's and Q's. Renters and property owners, and we're just going to do the best we can until the county comes back and says this is what's going to happen. So for us not to do that, not to do our fiduciary responsibilities and the governance and maintenance of this town, we would be remiss. So
based on the meeting, Hume's office said they'll come out around January, maybe 20th, to give us a follow-up on the different options based on feedback. But
I think they want the property owners to understand this, you know? And that's, you know, I think they want the property owners, I don't really have a say in this. It's gonna be up to these property owners to decide what they wanna do, you know? I just don't wanna get caught in the middle with no public money and no voice.
okay. Do we have any comments on line?
No one joining online. I'm not sure if
Okay.
anyone's present.
Agenda item number 11, the report.
You're welcome.
Are you recognizing me? Thank you. Mr. Walthall, you brought up a number of questions that I've asked this board a number of times, and I've put in public record requests to try to find out. I know that Ms. Kirk has tried to find out same questions or answers to the same questions. What is this board? Are you guys a 501c3? Are you a 501c4? Are you a 501c6? What is this board? Are you a common interest development? Are you an HOA board? Are you a charity organization? Are you a social welfare organization? What is this board? Can anybody here give me any answers to those questions? We've seen all three, 501c3, 501c4, 501c6, on your signed letterheads and emails and advertisements. It's very confusing. Not even sure if you guys know what you are. Does anybody here, can anybody here answer those questions?
This isn't Q&A, as I bring up every
yes,
meeting.
you always have that same answer. This isn't Q&A.
So what is your
Yes.
public comment?
And it doesn't make any difference to put in a public record request to lockelma@gmail.com because you refuse to answer. The only place I get answers from are from the county when I do next request, public record requests. And most of the time, they don't have any answers either. Or they make references to June Powles-Mays, who is the county's attorney, advising you guys. Sometimes they send me your emails with June Powles-Mays on it, talking to you, Mr. Walthall, and you, Mr. Prasa. By the way, when you schedule court hearings in small claims court against people like me, you should show up for your court hearings. You haven't shown up for 4 of them in the last month. The court wonders why you're not showing up. I wonder why you're not showing up. The county has no answers. You guys don't answer me. Why don't you show up for your court hearings? Wastes a lot of the court's time and my time. Wastes a lot of the court's money and my money that you don't show up for your court hearings. I don't get it.
The only answer I have to the question of what are we is County of Sacramento Interdepartment Correspondence dated April 9th, 2003. And it says that the Locke Management Association will own common areas in town and manage activities in the community of Locke and will be incorporated under section 501c6 of the Internal Revenue.
Okay.
That's what I got.
Agenda item number 11, the report on Locke street lights.
On November 13th, we met with SMUD representative. Stuart and I walked the entire town of Locke to assess the lighting. Carla Clifford is the representative. And based on our walkthrough in the town of Locke, she was saying that all the light bulbs have been replaced by SMUD already, and she's waiting to determine whether or not some of the lights required shielding. And she wanted the town to survey the residents to get an idea, should shielding be placed on all the street lights automatically or only on certain ones? And it appears that some of the light posts that SMUD owns can have a secondary gooseneck coming out to provide more lighting. So we thought of maybe 3 areas where additional lighting could be, gooseneck could be installed, would be the parking lot area and the River Road area and the lighting pole that is across from the Locke Garden area. So that would provide more lighting on the River Road and for safety reasons towards the backside near the restroom area.
Yeah, what Honey is referring to by Locke Garden is just a pole. And by the addition of one of those freeway type lights, would aim out towards the River Road. Regarding the parking lot, Carla even stated that the existing non-SMUD light fixtures could be retrofitted with SMUD lighting. So, and then regarding the lights, the 3 main lights on Main Street, she said they could be shielded, and we would certainly want to get input from the residents and business owners on Main Street before we start monkeying with shielding. So there's quite a bit of light that floods west onto balconies there. If you notice, Yun Chong is flooded, Mark Miller's is flooded. So what's good is that they made all the lighting uniform, checked all the others, and now are willing to modify according to the concerns of the residents and business owners, property owners of Locke. So.
Then as a follow-up, Carla also identified areas where tree maintenance or tree trimming can be done around some of these light poles.
By SMUD.
That would be
By
real
SMUD.
helpful.
And you guys got to follow up that she changes that bill, the bill on Main Street and River Road to the county. And
Yeah.
she said she do. Yeah.
Yeah,
That'll reduce what you're paying.
I know, but that really wasn't her job. We got to go to somebody else for that one.
She said she'd find the person in the county. The day we talked to her.
Yep.
So if I'm not here, you guys need to follow up with her. Okay?
Okay, so Maddie, I'll get you connected with Carla
Yeah, there you
Clifford, and then probably send out an email to the residents in town to find out if they had any concerns about the lighting, and let them know that there would be some shielding around some of the light bulbs, and if they have any additional comments. But one major light that can be added is just right here in the corner as you enter into town. This light pole here, light pole has only one directional lighting or no lighting at all. So this is where she can install a gooseneck with 2 lights coming from one pole. Same with the parking lot in the back.
Yeah, but
Provide
you
more
have to
lighting.
bear in mind, Honey is light crazy. I want dark skies, just so we know
Me
what's
too.
going on. So that light that Honey's talking about right there, it would probably be prudent to find out how Dustin at the Yun Chong would feel about it, since his light, you know.
But we do need lighting on Main Street.
Yes.
I'm not, the sidewalk
And River
and everything
Road.
needs to be lighted. Yeah.
So I think that new light that would be at Log Garden would be really good, because at night, when that curve is,
Yeah.
And she did
So-
confirm that we're not able to get grants from SMUD because we're not a 501c3.
But you are a public entity. The
So-
Brown Act makes you a public entity.
if you could send whatever information you
To
have
Maddie.
to Maddie, and
Yes.
Maddie has the means of contacting the residents,
Okay.
that would be the next step. But I think we should be happy with what has been done already.
Yes.
So, okay. Any public comments on lights? Mark, how do you feel about an unshielded light by your property, if you don't mind me asking?
Yep.
I like it shielded. I agree with you,
Mark.
Mr. Walthall.
I'm talking with Mark right now,
Oh, I
please.
thought you said Martha. Forgive me.
I don't have a problem with illuminating the sidewalks, but illuminating the porches, I don't see, the upstairs porches, I don't think that's a good thing.
Yep. So you want the lights to be more directed downward?
Yeah, and if they want to illuminate the sidewalks, that's great, but not people's porches. People's, private porches upstairs shouldn't have bright lights on them.
Martha?
I agree. I don't like it shining into the windows, into the bedroom windows at night. Keeps me awake.
Do we have any comments from the board regarding streetlights? Okay, Locke Management Representative reports, report from residential building owner representative, which is me. I have nothing to report. I guess since it's an agenda item, is that open for public comment for residential building owner representative?
Your board seat expired according to the Matty Act list in 2020. You acclaimed your seat in March of this year in violation of Civil Code 5103. And during your earlier discussion tonight regarding nominations, at the end of your nominations comment, you said, well, I guess it's moot talking about an election. So I'm uncertain as to whether you canceled an election process, a board election process, and we're once again vaguely reclaiming that you can continue to stay on the board without any board elections.
You know, normally I would not discuss this with Martha because she doesn't listen anyway. But what we have here is the exact same board we had before, except out of the goodness of Eric's heart, he's going to serve another term. That's exactly what's going on. You're going to try your best to do any kind of legal shenanigans you can to screw up whatever you can. That's what's going on here. So you want to finish up what you're talking about here in the form of a statement and not questions?
Yes, I would. Your name appeared on a billing statement for legal fees to me 2 years ago to the tune of $22,000 that you were talking to the lawyers of BPE Law Group to add more money to your right of first refusal lawsuit that you filed against me for my violation of not fitting your preferred race for a purchase of property in Locke, Mr. Walthall. That's my statement. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, I'm sure people appreciated it, Martha. Okay, does anybody on the board have any comments regarding residential property? Okay, a report from our commercial building owner representative.
That's me, and I don't have a report to give.
Thank you. Do you have any public comment regarding commercial building owners?
So you're stretching out a 3-year unelected term? Sorry, Mr. Heath, Attorney Heath, excuse me.
You can call me whatever. So I'll respond to you directly, Martha. I was sent as a property owner in town a nomination form to nominate people to serve on the board of directors into the future. There were slots for residential representatives and commercial representatives. I nominated myself as a commercial representative. That's what Mr. Walthall is referring to right now. I also nominated Clarence Chu as a commercial property owner. I assume, I don't know, that he has declined. I also nominated a couple of residential folks. I assume those folks have also declined. So I am not extending myself gratuitously or against the rules of the organization. And, you know, since the seat is open and in the absence of a competitive field where a vote might need to be taken, I think what Mr. Walthall is suggesting is that I can continue to serve with a new term absent a vote.
Well, since you're a lawyer, you know all about civil codes and stuff like that. Please write down Civil Code 5103, Davis-Sterling Act, acclamation, election by acclamation, because that's basically what you would be doing if the election is moot, as Mr. Walthall said.
an election process would be moot. It has to be done, made moot with a third-party inspector of elections.
Well, you only need a third-party inspector if there's actually an election. Election by acclamation, as you suggest, is something I guess we, could talk about. But the point being, like, if there is an open seat, somebody has nominated someone to serve. There's not a competitive. There's not a competition for that position, then the person who's been nominated can serve absent an election. So in any event, I take your point about 5103, I'll look it up, but.
Please also look up 5105, subsection, I believe it's 7, and then parentheses, a small e, lowercase e, which has to do with the board's requirement to give per 5105 board member, none of which was available because there are none. This board has not had any valid elections under Davis Sterling Act.
We understand that's your position, Martha. Thank you very much for reiterating it yet again.
I was just wondering, could I go ahead and give my report? I've got to be leaving.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I've appreciated the time that I've spent on the board. I probably won't be renominated per Pat Hume. When the gentleman from this marketing team said you need additional parking, I plan to go to the county on my own and start to ask for additional parking. One of the reasons we don't have any parking here is because people have subdivided their properties over and over again, which is fine. But we now have, people living in rentals that have 3 cars. We don't have any additional parking. So I was gonna go to the county and say, is it possible to buy part of Clarence's Orchard and create a Sacramento County parking lot? Not associated with the association, because they need to do something for us, all right? And we need a parking lot. So that's what I plan to do next year, whether I'm on this board or not. I just wanted to give you a heads up.
Good.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 14.
We are planning our membership luncheon and general election on January 11th, 2025 at Asian Resources Inc.
Good. Are both of you officers in OCA?
I am. Am I in
Okay,
trouble?
anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, CACS?
No report.
Okay, Locke Foundation, honey?
I actually handed out a one-pager which identifies the activities that Locke Foundation has been involved with, so you could actually go through yourself, but I sort of itemized the different activities, but points of interest, of course, would be on September 21st, we hosted the Traces of Roots in town, and that's through Angie Ng's grant that she received, so that was a big day for the town of Locke with open studios and a vintage fair. October 16th, LMC members attended boards, commissions, training hosted by Sacramento County. Of course, on November 12th, general public attended a California State Parks informational workshop about the Delta Metals classification and general plan. So that is a big deal for this whole area. So in future state parks will have a separate presentation just for the LMC board. February 2022, next year, Locke Foundation will be hosting the Lunar New Year activity. So we hope that all of you can participate and come to support this event. We have the Eastern Way line dancers on site and 2 scheduled lectures. One formally with the Asian Journalists Association and also the president of the Sacramento Delta River Historical Society, Mary Ellen Burns. On March 22nd next year, Locke Foundation and Locke Prada residents will be hosting the film premiere of Voices, Chinese Women of the Delta at the California Museum. So that would be a major accomplishment for Locke Foundation's Oral History Project. We've been working for the last 4 or 5 years with getting this concept and getting the activity together to showcase the perspectives of the Chinese women who live in the Delta.
What's the date on that?
March 22nd, Saturday at the California Museum. Ticket price is $30 in persons, and it entitles you to visit all the exhibits in the museum.
Thank you, honey.
Okay.
Okay, our historic preservation representative is not here, and Lisa, our county appointee, just left. So this is down to staff. Do the county have anything they want to add here, Manuel?
I don't have any updates at the moment.
Okay, agenda item number 20, director comments, reports, and announcements. I'd like to reiterate Chinese New Year for Locke. We're having a little bit more in our Chinese New Year. We do more indoor stuff, but it also means that we have a bit more of a captive kind of an audience. So we will be having lectures over at the Pearl and other activities and demonstrations and stuff, and hopefully this will overlap into the businesses.
So we're looking for volunteers and sponsorships.
Yeah. Okay, any director reports, announcements, or comments? Okay, now, public comments, anything not on the agenda? Okay, I'm going to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
I think I can just do it because I'm powerful.
Okay, never mind.
Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.